Hello to our wonderful audience, and we extend our warmest wishes for your health and well-being. Before we begin, we want to take a moment to sincerely thank you. Your support is the heartbeat of Proctor Mindset, and we pour our hearts into every video we create. Our team works tirelessly to bring you content that truly matters, and your engagement makes it all worthwhile. If you find value in what we do, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing this video to help us reach more people on their journey to self-improvement. Have you ever felt that just as your life starts to improve, something holds you back? It's as if there's an invisible ceiling stopping you from going further, not due to a lack of will, but from the difficulty of managing the emotional discomfort that comes with newness. As soon as a situation steps out of your routine, your body reacts with anxiety, tension, and insecurity. This is the ceiling that no longer tolerates the emotional legacy of scarcity. But you can change this, not overnight, but through conscious, deliberate repetition. Fear is cunning. It wears a mask of logic. It whispers, "It's not the right time. What if it fails? You have bills to pay. Be cautious." This isn't a coincidence or a lack of willpower. What's at play here is a deeper mechanism, fear disguised as common sense. The majority of people follow a financial system that wasn't deliberately chosen. This system was passed down to them. Maybe you've never truly thought about it, but the way you handle money today, how much you spend, save, or how you react to its arrival or absence, isn't innate. The answer is simple. You're waiting for the world to change to feel different, and as long as you do, you'll remain a prisoner of your circumstances. This isn't empty self-help. It's a science applied to personal transformation. Imagine two people with the same knowledge and opportunities. One prospers, the other stagnates. The difference lies in their vibration. Your outer reality is just a mirror of your inner reality. Until your self-image changes, your results will stay the same or, at best, be temporarily different before returning to the old pattern. This conflict between your conscious desires and your unconscious programming creates a silent war within you, and the winner is always the better trained one, your paradigm. When you vibrate like this, money starts to come to you, and, even better, it starts to stay. Look around you right now. Observe your home, your clothes, your bank account balance, your job, your usual conversations. All of this reflects your self-image. When I decided to start a business and completely change the direction of my life, everything in me said I was crazy, that I would fail, that I would lose everything. It was as if I wanted to move forward with my right foot, but my left foot was stuck on the brake. It was only when I understood that my self-image was incompatible with the success I wanted that everything began to fall into place. Do these expressions sound familiar? How many times have you caught yourself repeating them, sometimes without even meaning to? You may think you control your decisions, but if you haven't consciously reprogrammed your paradigm, you're operating on autopilot. Money comes when you are in harmony with it. Mentally, emotionally, and vibrationally. You don't attract what you want, but what you believe you deserve. This could be noting your expenses with gratitude, checking your bank account with neutrality, establishing a routine of affirmations, or setting aside 5% of your income, no matter how small it is. But don't do this lightly. Feel it, imagine it, act as if it's real. If you do this consistently, your brain will eventually believe it. This image influences your financial, emotional, and professional reality, everything. If you genuinely want to move toward prosperity, start here. When your brain believes it, it generates behaviors that align with this new belief, and the universe responds. You aren't limited by your past, but by what you believe yourself to be. And you can change that. I met a young woman in Paris a few years ago. She worked in a modest office, earned very little, and lived with insecurity. I told her, you have to act as if you were already there, not to pretend, but to train your body and mind to vibrate at the frequency of what you desire. At the time, these words made no sense to her. Yet, she persisted, not only with words, but also by dressing more confidently, walking with more presence, and studying with more focus. You don't need to change everything at once. You just need to change enough to send a new signal to the universe. I am ready to prosper. I am someone who supports abundance. You reach further, you receive more. Let me ask you a direct question. How have you perceived yourself these past few days? The most dangerous thing is that people don't even know they carry this image within them. They live on autopilot, thinking they're being realistic when they are just conditioned. These beliefs were instilled in you in your childhood environment through observing your parents and repeated phrases like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," "A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush," "Money is dirty," or "Rich people aren't honest." The bills were crushing me, and debt was a persistent shadow. Then one day, while reading a study on financial paradigms and behaviors, I had a revelation. The problem wasn't how much I was earning, but how much I was conditioned to accept. And as I told you, your paradigm doesn't want to evolve. It's an autopilot inherited from those who taught you how to survive, not to prosper. It's hard to hear, I know, but it's liberating to understand that this system can be replaced. I experienced this myself, and it's a big reason why many people give up. But I'm telling you one thing, you can change this, and the change begins with awareness. When you change your inner image, the world starts to react differently. Science has already proven it, because the new is perceived as a threat, even if it is exactly what you need. I experienced this myself. It's like driving at night with dim headlights. You only see a part of the road. But by raising your personal image, the headlights widen and you see more. She started with a small gesture, repeating an affirmation in front of her mirror every day for 3 weeks. In the end, she found the clarity and strength to resign, create her own company, and double her income. All these feelings are symptoms of a limiting financial paradigm. Now, I'm proposing a practical exercise, and here's one thing I want you to understand. Money doesn't just come from merit, effort, or luck. It only happens with repetition, regularity, and daily practice. Think about it. Brushing your teeth once felt strange and uncomfortable, but you repeated it until it became automatic. Write all this down, because by writing, you make the invisible visible, and you can only change what you see. Then, choose one small action that will move you forward despite the fear. This can be a modest step, but one that breaks with your old habits. Because the repetition of these actions teaches your brain and body that it is safe to move forward. Courage doesn't mean the absence of fear, it's acting in spite of that fear. It is essential to understand that most of your fears are not based on real facts, but on narratives passed down through generations. You don't need to eliminate fear, only to stop letting it take control. You are here to grow, create, and prosper. And it all begins the moment you decide to act despite your doubts. How many times have you had an exciting idea that made your heart beat faster and gave you hope that this time, everything would be different? But a few days later, the excitement fades, fear appears, doubts overwhelm you, and suddenly you find yourself back where you started. Are you someone who simply fights to survive, or a person born to prosper? Someone who seeks to adapt, or who creates their own path? For at least 21 days, create a daily ritual to strengthen the image of the person you want to become. Look at yourself in the mirror and affirm this new identity. These stories often speak of failures, danger, and disappointment. What blocks you isn't reality itself, but rather the emotional weight of these narratives that have become ingrained in you. The problem is that this pattern triggers automatically without you even realizing it. This is why it's crucial to train your mind with the same rigor as your body, to teach your nervous system that prosperity is natural and safe. Your internal system tells you, be careful. This is too new, too risky. Let's go back to what we know. Even if what you know is scarcity, pressure, and difficulty. The subconscious seeks familiarity, not success, because familiarity is perceived as safe. If you grew up in an emotional environment of scarcity, that's what your subconscious will try to maintain, even if you consciously want to prosper. It's a vicious cycle that can only be broken by the conscious construction of a new self-image. You must see yourself differently before the world sees you differently. I simply invite you to choose a new daily behavior that raises your frequency. Meditate for 5 minutes, focusing on gratitude. Visualize your future in detail. Repeat a powerful affirmation. Do it for 21 days. People will start to perceive you differently. You will discover previously invisible paths. It's not magic, but an expanded perception. There is a concept called a neurochemical identity, which reveals that the brain creates a chemical signature based on how you perceive yourself. How many times have you shrunk, reduced yourself, hidden behind the idea of modesty when, in truth, it was disguised fear. This happens more often than you think because the behavior is old, repetitive, and automatic. It's like trying to swim against the current without even seeing the force that's pushing you back. Your body learns these behaviors so well that it repeats them automatically without involving your conscious mind. So, even if you want to change, you might feel a lack of anxiety, drama, and constant worry. Do you sabotage yourself when you're on the verge of growth? Do you accept less than your worth because you're afraid to ask for what is fair? If this cycle isn't broken, your brain continues to send the same signals, keeping you trapped. But by intentionally choosing new thoughts with emotion and repeating this for 21 days, you create new neural pathways. It's like an addict going through withdrawal. Your body craves the familiar emotional state. I experienced this myself. After achieving success, everything started to decline because I had relaxed the habits that supported my positive vibration. The person says they want to grow but can't imagine giving conferences, being well paid, recognized, and living freely. She doesn't see herself there. This identity triggers automatic patterns in your behavior. If you see yourself as limited, your brain will seek to confirm it. The problem is that most people don't know this. They believe they are victims of circumstances, wages, the economy, and opportunities. Your brain will begin to align with this new identity. Old synapses weaken while new ones strengthen. This is neuroplasticity in action. For the next 3 days, write down all your decisions related to money, from the small coffee you bought to the expense you avoided out of fear. At first, it may seem ridiculous or ineffective, but persevere. Over time, your body will assimilate, your mind will harmonize, and your reality will transform. Change doesn't happen with a flash of lightning, but through small, intentional daily actions. This isn't a game, it's a preparation, an alignment, an identity building. You might be asking, how can I see myself as prosperous when everything around me says the opposite? Money reacts to your frequency, not just to physical effort. Many people work hard, study, and dedicate themselves but don't prosper because, internally, they vibrate like those who survive and feel unworthy. This isn't just positive thinking, it's changing the emotional state in which you live most of the time. Because it is the combination of thought, emotion, and behavior that attracts what you desire. In reality, they are victims of a false and restricted mental image created from past experiences, criticisms received, unresolved trauma, and constant comparison. What you believe is possible is what your internal system recognizes as normal. And if your normal is a struggle, the money that comes in will go back out. You will be distracted by trivialities, avoid risks, and minimize your successes. But if you modify your self-image and reinforce it every day, you will succeed. For a long time, I lived this myself. I desperately wanted to improve, grow, and prosper, but something inside me said, "That's not for you, Bob." Are you someone who waits for luck to change, or someone who chooses to change their frequency? Your answers reveal your current self-image. A few months later, she was promoted. A year later, she created her own company. Today, she lives a completely different reality because she changed the image she had of herself. This simple exercise has the power to open your eyes to patterns you were repeating without even realizing it. It already begins to weaken the old paradigm. This is not a coincidence, but how your body tries to maintain an old pattern, a habit deeply ingrained in your nervous system, even if that pattern is made of fear, scarcity, or self-sabotage. Transformation doesn't require perfection, but movement. And that movement starts now. Have you ever felt stuck in a never-ending cycle? Those who are light, enthusiastic, and confident attract more abundance. You must teach your body to feel comfortable with success and prosperity, which can only come through emotional, energetic, and behavioral practice. Despite your efforts to change, you always get the same results. You start to save, you get excited about a project, then you lose your motivation. You have a good financial period, then everything falls apart. For years, I was proud of working hard, but I discovered that hard work without inner alignment was nothing more than organized fatigue. I was exhausted, and at the end of the month, there was nothing left. Your subconscious wants predictability. It wants you to stay where you are because that's where it feels safe. That's why every attempt at change is met with resistance. How many opportunities have you refused? How many times have you procrastinated on something important because you didn't believe you deserved what you wanted to achieve? You see, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you believe you are. This belief doesn't lie in what you say, but in what you feel all day long. The important thing isn't the greatness of the act, but the message sent to your nervous system. We are evolving, changing, and safe. Studies show that 90% of our thoughts today are the same as yesterday, and most are negative. And everything else will realign with this new identity. Now, reflect. How many times have you sabotaged yourself because, deep down, you didn't see yourself as someone capable of succeeding? It was programming. My subconscious always brought me back to the level of scarcity with which I identified. I then understood that as long as my financial identity was one of survival, no increase in income would be enough to make me surpass that level. And because she doesn't see herself that way, she doesn't act as if she's ready. Because she doesn't act, she doesn't vibrate at that frequency. And because she doesn't vibrate, she doesn't attract. If you're not aware of it, you might interpret these sensations as a sign that you're on the wrong track when they are simply part of the natural process of transformation. Every day, she would look in the mirror and say, "I am a successful woman. I am prosperous. I am confident." At first, it seemed ridiculous to her. She is in the repeated thoughts, in the decisions made, in the words used to talk about herself. How you perceive yourself shapes your actions, your vibrations, and consequently, your results. Imagine applying this principle to reprogram your financial behavior. A simple, daily gesture that tells your body and mind, "I am no longer that person, I am changing." Pay attention to your behaviors. Observe your reaction when you think about money. Do you feel guilt, fear, or distrust? But here is the key. Just as the body has assimilated this pattern, it can also adopt another, thanks to neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself, create new connections, and erase old paths. Because now, you see yourself as someone who deserves it. Are you ready to let this new you be born? It's already within you, waiting for you to take control, because it only maintains its power as long as it operates in the shadows. When you turn on the light, you start to take control again. It's as if you've imposed a limit on the amount of money you allow yourself to have, and any excess makes you feel uncomfortable. This isn't a coincidence, it's the paradigm at work. One day, after listening to one of my recordings on self-image, she decided to act as if she was already the woman she wanted to become. I started to observe my reactions to money. Every time I received a little more, an unforeseen expense would arise. Every time I tried to save, an emergency would appear. It seemed like bad luck, but it wasn't. I saw this clearly in the story of a woman who attended one of my events. She had spent over 20 years in a job that was internally draining her. The fear didn't leave her, but she stopped letting it decide for her. So I invite you to do one simple and powerful thing. The next time fear appears, ask yourself, is this a fact or a story? Have you ever wondered why so many people work hard all their lives but still struggle to pay their bills at the end of the month? Why do some seem to attract prosperity while others, despite their efforts, live in scarcity? But at that moment, I chose to listen to another voice, the voice of vision. And it changed everything. The answer doesn't lie in their actions, but in their deep, often unconscious, beliefs. There is an invisible root that influences your relationship with money, and this root has a name, the paradigm. Also include what you thought about money during that time. I can't spend it, it won't be possible. I never have enough, it's too expensive for me. Every day, choose thoughts and behaviors that reflect the new you. The prosperous you, the one who knows they deserve better. And that's not all. When you change your inner image, your vibrational field also evolves. Then, opportunities begin to appear. According to a Harvard Business Review study, 80% of people give up on their personal projects in less than a month. The main reason isn't a lack of skills,